Welcome back, everybody. Today is Monday, November 24th, 2025. Born on this date in 1939, vocalist and guitarist Jim Yester of the Sunshine Pop band The Association, born in Birmingham. Remember Sunshine Pop? The Association, the Mamas and the Papas. I'll bet a lot of Sunshine Pop fans got older and started listening to yacht rock if they didn't go country. That's not scientific. Except the Beach Boys. You never outgrow the Beach Boys. It's also National Sardines Day for folks who dig the finer seafood. That's brain and heart food for sure. Now, if you're thankful for anything, and you got to be thankful for something, even Florida Gator fans, if you are thankful for something, let us know what it is. You can be earnest or clever or smart aleck or whatever you'd like. Leave us a really brief message at 205-304-1814. We'd love to share some of them later this week. That's 205-304-1814. Today on the briefing, we're going to talk about the big data centers that are coming into the state. 2 college football players who were stabbed over the weekend. What we might expect in the governor's race with a big new candidate in there. And a new Boll Weevil statue. I'm Mike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama.
In America, half of every dollar spent on brand medicines goes to entities who don't make them. While middlemen like PBMs and 340B hospitals drive up costs, Biopharma is investing $500 billion in new infrastructure and manufacturing here at home, and helping patients buy medicines directly at lower prices. Tell Washington to end middlemen markups and put American patients first. Visit phrma.org/middlemen.
The still relatively new Alabama Public Service Commission president is warning the state about potential downsides to having data centers that are built in Alabama, reports AL.com's Hannah Denham. Cynthia Lee Allman, who was appointed PSC president by Governor Kay Ivey in June, issued a letter from herself, not the entire board, calling for limits on the industry's use of power. Statement follows the latest proposed data center, a $14 billion, 18-building behemoth on 700 acres in Bessemer. Allman said that facility would use, quote, more power and water than any site in our state's history. Now, you see the economics at play here. More demand for energy could mean higher prices locally, at least theoretically. Said Allman, quote, our standards, no free rides for big tech. The entities driving up the costs must be the entities covering the costs. Data centers will be part of Alabama's future, but that future must work for everyone, not just the companies building these facilities, end quote. Now, representatives from Logistics Land Investment, that's the data center's developer, and Alabama Power have said existing customers won't see increases on their bills. 2 UAB football players were stabbed and a third was arrested just hours before the Blazers played South Florida on Saturday at Protective Stadium, reports AL.com's Carol Robinson and Andrew Hammond. Now, the attack happened at UAB's football operations building. The school issued a release that said the 2 injured players were in stable condition, but didn't identify them. Daniel Israel Mincy, a redshirt freshman from Pompano Beach, Florida, was being held at the Jefferson County Jail on charges of aggravated assault and attempted murder. The last Democrat to win a statewide office in Alabama is indeed running for governor, reports AL.com's Lawrence Specker. But former U.S. Senator Doug Jones lost his most recent statewide election in a pretty good thumping by current U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, whom it appears he would have to beat in next year's general election to become governor. Now, first, Jones will likely face Will Boyd and Chig Martin in the Democratic primary. Tuberville likely will face Ken McFeeters in the GOP primary. But let's zero in on the presumptive favorites for now. Tuberville Jones 1 was not a tight race, and there are no signs that hundreds of thousands of Alabama voters have decided to become Democrats. But Jones' entry into the race is noteworthy because of what might be different this time. National Dems smell a little blood in the water after some of this year's local elections, and finding a way to somehow take over the red estate's governor's office could help nudge President Trump a little more toward lame duck status. Now, that happens to all of them during this part of their second term, especially if the president's party is on a losing streak and looking for a new direction. Because of those prospects and Jones' pull with the National Party, he might bring in some pretty hefty resources. Now, it's unlikely that he signed up just to be throttled. Of course, Tuberville has a lot of pull too. But keep an eye on the bone of contention that others have tried to exploit with Tuberville, lingering questions over whether he has truly lived in Alabama long enough to legally run for governor. This has not worked against him before, but to run for U.S. Senate, he had to be a resident of Alabama for only one day before the election. To run for governor, he has to have lived in the state for 7 years prior to the election. Tuberville says he has, and that he lives in a house in Auburn that is in his wife's and son's names. It's a modest home, at least by college football coach standards, and nothing like the multi-million-dollar property on a Florida Panhandle beach where he once said he lived, and some contend he still does. Now, after voting in Florida in 2018, he did register to vote in Alabama in 2019, which will be a little more than 7 years ago come Election Day. It's not publicly known whether he has filed Alabama income taxes during each of these 7 years. Now, that's all old news and a month's old debate. It might be a nothing sandwich, but the party lawyers haven't fully descended on Montgomery, if they indeed choose to do so, and the parties have lots of lawyers. There's a new McDonald's in Enterprise, and it'll be the site of another Boll Weevil statue, reports AL.com's Diane Moy. Now, just about everybody knows their Boll Weevil history by now, and I know we've gone over it here before. It's believed they came up from Mexico. Nobody thought to try to build a weevil wall to stop the migration, and ate their way back and forth across the South, decimating cotton crops by eating the buds. It caused some hardship for a while and is believed to have had lots of social and economic impact. But it came to be celebrated in some places because the boll weevil forced the South to diversify the economy, plan better crop rotation, and find new cash crops, such as peanuts. It had a really profound impact on the wiregrass area, and today Dothan is represented by the peanut and Enterprise by the boll weevil. And the towns have dozens of little statues celebrating their mascots. In Dothan, you have a policeman peanut in front of the driver license office and an Elvis peanut in front of the Days Inn. Remember the Hooters peanut? In Enterprise, it's the same thing, only a little more buggy. Each boll weevil statue along Weevil Way has 6 limbs and a proboscis sticking out of its face like a long tubular nose. The old McDonald's in Enterprise, located on the east side of Boll Weevil Circle, has a Ronald McWeevil statue. That's Ronald McDonald with 6 limbs and the insect snout. The new McDonald's in Enterprise, located on the south side of Boll Weevil Circle, has a Hamburglar Boll Weevil statue. That's the new one. Elsewhere along Weevil Way, you can find statues such as Sir Winston Weevil by Boll Weevil Fine Cigars and Mayor Weevil in front of City Hall. For members of our New Jersey audience listening in, we know how to enjoy life down here in Alabama. Thank y'all so much for listening to us. We'll be back in the morning. Until then, y'all come by anytime you can. See what we're working on the internet at al.com.
Kay Jewelers Black Friday sale is on. Now's the time to get up to 50% off Black Friday deals. With savings this big, you can get gifts for everyone on your list. Plus, if Black Friday lines aren't your thing, skip them. At Kay, you can buy online and pick up in store or get free shipping right to your home. This holiday season, unwrap love and savings with Kay. Exclusions apply. See Kay.com/exclusions for details.
On a map, we can often pinpoint where pollution sources like a chemical factory or a power plant are. But it can be much harder to pin down why these things were built where they were. That is, until we turn to history and begin to understand what lay there before. In the latest season of Broken Ground, we're investigating how the legacy of slavery connects to today's environmental injustices. Produced by the Southern Environmental Law Center, Broken Ground is available wherever you get your podcasts.